Gallino doesn't raise his voice this time. He doesn't need to. One quiet sentence is enough to make it clear Tommy's life, his work, and his family are all sitting on the edge of a knife. Episode 6 is not about deals anymore. It's about survival. And for the first time this season, Tommy realizes something terrifying. Gallino is no longer testing him. He is threatening him. Episode 6 opens with a heavy feeling hanging over everything, as if the air itself knows something bad is coming. Tommy is walking into the most dangerous phase of his life, and the worst part is that he didn't choose this war. It was forced on him the moment Cammy accepted Gallino's money. That decision quietly shifted the balance of power, and now Gallino is standing exactly where he wants to be, between Tommy and the company he helped build. Gallino doesn't act like a typical villain. He is calm, confident, and frighteningly patient. When he speaks to Tommy, there are no direct threats at first. Instead, he talks about loyalty, about sacrifice, about how men like Tommy only survive when they understand who really controls the game. But beneath those smooth words is a clear message. You work for me now. Gallino knows Tommy's weaknesses. He knows Tommy cares more about people than profit, and that makes him vulnerable. Every sentence Gallino says feels polite on the surface, yet dangerous underneath, like a warning wrapped in a smile. Tommy, on the other hand, is visibly cornered. He tries to stay calm, tries to think like the strategist he has always been, but this time it's different. This isn't a business rival. This is a man who doesn't lose, because he doesn't play by rules. Tommy starts to understand that every move he makes from now on will be watched, measured, and judged by Gallino. One wrong step could cost him everything, not just the company, but lives. The tension with Cammy only makes things worse. She no longer looks at Tommy as her protector or partner. There is distance in her eyes, doubt in her voice. Gallino has successfully planted the idea that Tommy is a risk, a man stuck in the past who could drag MTEX down with him. And that hurts Tommy more than any threat ever could. He isn't fighting an enemy anymore, he's fighting mistrust. Cammy believes she is saving the company, but she doesn't see that she has handed the keys to someone far more dangerous. As the pressure builds, Tommy begins to realize that the offshore drilling deal is not just risky, it's a trap. Gallino wants Tommy to take the fall if things go wrong. If the deal succeeds, Gallino wins more control. If it fails, Tommy becomes the perfect scapegoat. Either way, Gallino walks away clean. This realization hits Tommy hard because for the first time, he doesn't see a clear way out. And then comes the moment that changes everything. Gallino finally drops the mask. Not with violence, not with shouting, but with certainty. He makes it clear that he knows where Tommy's weak points are. His family, his past decisions, his loyalty to people who may not protect him anymore. The threat is subtle, but unmistakable. This is not about business leverage anymore. This is personal. Episode 6 sets the stage for a dangerous power shift. Tommy is still standing, but the ground beneath him is cracking. Gallino has made his move. Cammy has unknowingly chosen sides, and the clock has started ticking. From this point on, every decision Tommy makes will come at a cost. And the scariest part? Gallino is enjoying watching him struggle. As episode 6 moves forward, the pressure around Tommy tightens from every direction. What makes this moment so dangerous is not just Gallino's power, but how isolated Tommy has become. The people who once trusted his instincts are now questioning him, and Gallino knows that isolation is the fastest way to break a man. He doesn't rush. He lets the doubt do the work for him. Cammy's behavior continues to shift in a worrying way. She starts speaking the language of numbers instead of people, profits instead of consequences. In her mind, she is protecting Monty's legacy and keeping MTEX alive. But what she fails to see is that Gallino is slowly rewriting the rules of the company. He doesn't push aggressively. He suggests. He advises. He frames every move as necessary. And each time Cammy agrees, Tommy loses a little more ground. Tommy tries to reason with her one last time, not as a businessman, but as someone who genuinely cares. He warns her again about Gallino's past, about the kind of men who don't invest unless they plan to own everything in the end. But Cammy hears only fear in his voice, not wisdom. In her eyes, Tommy now looks like a man who is afraid of change. That misunderstanding cuts deeper than any argument. Because Tommy isn't afraid of risk, he's afraid of blood being spilled in the name of profit. Meanwhile, Gallino starts applying pressure in more subtle ways. Small decisions begin to bypass Tommy. Meetings happen without him. Calls don't get returned. Authority slowly slips through his fingers, not all at once, but piece by piece. This is where the true threat becomes clear. Gallino doesn't need to remove Tommy immediately. He wants him weakened, frustrated, and desperate. A man who can be controlled. The offshore drilling deal becomes the centerpiece of this manipulation. It's presented as a bold move that could save the company, but Tommy sees the cracks immediately. The risks are enormous, the timelines unrealistic, and the legal protections dangerously thin. Still, Gallino pushes forward, calmly insisting that hesitation is weakness. And Cammy, caught between fear and ambition, leans closer to Gallino's confidence than Tommy's caution. At the same time, Rebecca steps closer to the center of the storm. She senses that something is wrong, not just financially, but ethically. Her concern is not loud, but it is firm. Unlike Cammy, Rebecca understands how quickly power can turn into liability. She sees the warning signs in the contracts, the gaps in responsibility, and the way blame has been carefully positioned to land on Tommy if things explode. Her involvement becomes a quiet lifeline, reminding Tommy that he may not be completely alone after all. But even that hope feels fragile. Gallino is always one step ahead. He knows lawyers, regulators, and systems better than most. And he enjoys showing that knowledge off, not to intimidate directly, but to remind everyone in the room that resistance is pointless. His message is simple: work with me, or be crushed by the machine I control. As the episode moves closer to its breaking point, Tommy begins to understand the real battle he's facing. This isn't about winning back control overnight. It's about staying alive long enough to find leverage. Gallino has made it clear that he won't tolerate disobedience. And if Tommy pushes too hard, too fast, the consequences won't just land on him. The fear is no longer theoretical. It's present, it's real, and it's growing. Tommy stands at a crossroads. Play along and lose himself slowly, or fight back and risk losing everything in one brutal move. Episode 6 makes one thing painfully clear. Gallino has drawn the line, and whichever side Tommy chooses next will define the rest of the season. By the time episode 6 reaches its climax, the tension has become almost unbearable. Tommy realizes that survival isn't just about keeping the company safe. It's about protecting the people he cares about. TL, innocent and unaware, has become a potential target in Gallino's game. Seeing his son held by security in the promo only confirms that Gallino isn't bluffing. This isn't just intimidation, it's a statement. I can reach anyone, anywhere, anytime. The fear is suffocating, but Tommy knows he cannot freeze. He has to act, even if the path forward is unclear. Tommy's mind races as he considers his options. He begins analyzing every move Gallino has made, every subtle manipulation, every misdirection. He knows that direct confrontation is dangerous. Gallino thrives on chaos and can turn even a small error into catastrophe. So, Tommy starts crafting strategies that require patience, observation, and careful timing. He understands one thing above all: Gallino may control the present, but the future is still unwritten. Tommy's greatest weapon has always been his ability to think 3 steps ahead, and now, more than ever, he must rely on that skill to survive. Cammy's growing reliance on Gallino adds another layer of complexity. Every conversation with her is, now, a balancing act. Tommy tries to remind her of the risks, of the consequences she refuses to acknowledge, but each warning falls on ears that are clouded with desperation. The emotional wedge between them is widening, and Gallino is enjoying every second of it. The way he smiles when Cammy makes decisions that favor him, the calm patience with which he manipulates both sides, it's chilling. Tommy sees the trap clearly now. Gallino wants him isolated, frustrated, and vulnerable before delivering the final blow. Meanwhile, Rebecca emerges as a silent force of resistance. Her loyalty to Mtex, and perhaps to Tommy, begins to shift the balance, but subtly. She points out legal loopholes and weaknesses in Gallino's plans, giving Tommy small victories that are enough to keep hope alive. She understands that the battle isn't won in grand gestures, but in careful, precise moves behind the scenes. Her presence becomes a quiet counterweight to Gallino's overwhelming control, a reminder that Tommy still has allies if he chooses to see them. As the tension reaches its peak, the offshore drilling deal comes to the forefront. Gallino is pushing it relentlessly, Cammy is blindly agreeing, and Tommy is forced to play a dangerous game. He must appear compliant while secretly searching for leverage. Every decision carries massive stakes, and one mistake could destroy everything he has fought for. The scene is charged with suspense, the kind that makes the audience hold their breath. Tommy's calculated restraint contrasts sharply with Gallino's cold confidence, creating a dynamic that is both thrilling and terrifying. The episode closes with a powerful sense of uncertainty. Tommy is cornered, Cammy is entangled in Gallino's influence, and Gallino remains untouchable, or so it seems. The last moments leave the audience questioning, how far will Tommy go to reclaim control? Will Cammy realize the danger before it's too late? And can anyone survive a man who thrives on turning loyalty into a weapon? Episode 6 promises that the stakes are higher than ever, the threats more personal, and the suspense more intense. Every character is on the edge, and the outcome is anything but certain. One thing is clear. In the world of Landman, no one is safe, and every choice could be their last.